was 7:30 in the morning when western Colombia was shaken to its core. Terrified screams, followed by the horror of crumbling buildings. It was the second 7.4 magnitude earthquake to hit South America in just over 6 weeks. Unlike the earthquakes in neighboring Venezuela, Colombia's shock caused significant damage as far as 500 kilometers from the epicenter, Chocó, a sparsely populated region. Instead, cities much further away, like Cali, Pereira, Armenia, and Manizales, were hardest hit. We arrive in Cali to find widespread damage, devastation, and desperation, with volunteers clawing their way through the rubble, trying to reach those trapped underneath.
What you see behind me is a building that was called Mirasol. It was a beautiful apartment building, a residential area. It's completely collapsed, and so far they haven't found anybody alive.
There have been exceptions, but not nearly enough.
When the earthquake struck, this wing of Cali's University Hospital collapsed immediately. On the top floor was the pediatric wing, where the children who were recovering from surgery were. Just below it were the adults who were recovering from surgery. It's unclear just how many people were there. Right now, some 600 patients have been evacuated and are staying outside. But the saddest part of all are the people that you see here.
They're the relatives of many of those who are still missing and believed trapped inside. We meet the Jaramillo family. 54-year-old Asdrubal Jaramillo was recovering from throat surgery on the 4th floor. His daughter Daniela says they've been waiting since Monday for search teams to rescue him.
We know my father is still alive because he's answering his cell phone. He can't speak from the surgery, but he's answering and making calls.
You say he's still up there?
Yes, but nobody does anything. They just make us wait and wait.
Juan Andres Sanchez had traveled to Cali with his wife for their 17-year-old son's operation. Now he doesn't know if she's still alive, only that his son is not.
A social worker told me that he had been taken to the nearby morgue, but when I went, they said he had moved elsewhere because the morgue was in danger of collapsing.
The desperation increases as a Red Cross rescue team arrives.
Please, enough is enough. How long are you going to wait to do something? You have families too. Help us, please. By just standing there, you cannot do anything.
The Red Cross leader explains they're still assessing the danger of entering the building. And so the families and friends do the only thing they can. The next day, we travel 3 hours north.
We've just arrived in Pereira, where the residents are calling this the Phantom City. Everywhere you look, there is rubble. You can tell that buildings have been collapsing absolutely everywhere. And those that haven't collapsed completely are, in most cases, too dangerous to inhabit. The people over there are going to quickly go in and try to find the body of a person, I understand, who they know is in there, was trapped, but did not survive. And this is a story we're seeing everywhere we go. People's lives have been destroyed, just like the places where they live. They've been left homeless, penniless in most cases, without jobs. But one thing that is conspicuous by its absence is the presence of the new government agencies, even the municipality. Nobody is coming out to tell people what's going to happen to them, where they're going to live, and what help, if any, they are going to receive. The new president has only been in office for just a week, we know that. But people feel that it's been the same amount of time that they've been left with nothing, and for them, it feels like an eternity.
At Liberty Park, another chaotic scene. Hundreds of volunteers have been working round the clock to remove rubble from a building where low-income families rented rooms or small apartments, charged by the day. Many believe that someone is still alive, but it's now reaching the critical point of the first 72 hours since the collapse. Everybody is giving orders at once until the noise is interrupted by calls for silence. The Colombian Army's search and rescue team has finally arrived to impose some order.
Listen, listen, attention. Listen, you people. Learn to listen. This isn't a game. This is real. If you've come to work, fine. If you're here to fight or steal, get out of here.
But silence isn't enough.
Every time you move your feet, it makes a noise. We have to determine if it's the victim or if it's one of you. Don't move, please.
The search specialists listen for sounds with headphones. They use a heat sensor and call out to see if anyone is there, while a sniffer dog combs the area. Finally, confirmation that there is still life. As the search goes on, across the street are the survivors. They've been living in this park since Monday. 18-year-old Juan says a door fell on his foot when he was escaping the building. But he's managing with this makeshift cast because he was told the hospital is only treating more critical patients. We find two families who've now been displaced for a second time. Amparo Guasarabe is 35 years old and has 5 children.
After they killed my father in the armed conflict there, we roamed from place to place until we finally arrived in Pereira. I've survived selling this and that on the street to pay for a room so the children and I wouldn't have to sleep on the street. And look what happened to us. We have nothing now. Again, we're asking for cooperation to help us.
Look, my children are sleeping on cardboard. We have nothing. I'm 39. These are my 2 children and my wife.
So far, these people are all making do with what they can. Medical students are volunteering to treat people. Church and social groups bring in food. But the need is much greater. There's little good news, so when a cat is rescued from underneath the rubble of another building, it lifts everyone's spirits. Back at the collapsed building site, the work continues. The Army Search Brigade tells us that there are only 35 members of the team for the entire city. They're stretched too thin, and so they have to concentrate on places where people may still be alive. But here, as everywhere, it's painfully slow progress. By nightfall, there are no more signs of life. Many are angry and don't understand why President Abelardo de Espriella refused to accept offers from all over the region and much of the world to send search and rescue teams to Colombia immediately before the critical first 72 hours lapsed. What is making its way through are essential food supplies, water treatment equipment, and sophisticated technology to determine whether damaged buildings can be repaired or must be demolished.
In the meantime, the rubbish is piling up day after day. There's rotten food over there, dead animals in that bag here, manure as well, and the children even play in it because I think they're going to find toys here. What you can't see is the stench. It is unbearable. And a doctor told me that if this continues, this will lead to a sanitary crisis on top of everything else that they're dealing with.
Back in Cali, we return to the hospital. The Jaramillo family hasn't heard from their father since Wednesday morning, but they're encouraged. A search and rescue team from the capital arrived in the afternoon and is trying to establish proof of life. But it's very dangerous and very slow. The next morning, Juan Andres Sanchez sits alone, waiting for news, and clearly traumatized. It turns out that his son wasn't taken to the morgue after all, and that he and his wife are still somewhere in the collapsed wing of the hospital. By now, the unmistakable smell of dead bodies is becoming overpowering, but nobody wants to talk about it. The president has promised to come here as part of a tour of the hardest hit areas, but they're not impressed. There's a growing feeling that recovering their loved ones' bodies may be the best these families can hope for. The government is now moving toward a longer recovery and reconstruction effort, including temporary housing and subsidies for the more than 45,000 people impacted by the quake. Hospitals and schools need to be rebuilt. The president is promising to create what he calls a miracle reconstruction fund and bring in private investors and international donors. But hundreds of people, if not more, remain missing. So volunteers and professionals continue searching through collapsed buildings, hoping for another, more immediate miracle. Hope, after all, is the last thing you can lose. Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera, Pereira, Colombia.